What's up, guys? I have a few minutes before dinner, so I'm going to squeeze in a quick game here. 11:27, and one thing that you might have noticed, the opponents are starting to give us more of a challenge. And so part of that was I was kind of trying out some different openings, playing things that I'm not as familiar with, which does make a big difference. So this game, I'm playing Bishop B5, which I am very familiar with. One of my favorite opening, not my one of my favorite opening against the Sicilian. And so we'll see if this game goes any differently. I'll play A4. It's a tricky kind of a way to defend the bishop because if black recaptures you, they immediately open up your rook. And if they play a6 to force you to trade, okay, which we see here, this is actually stopping. I mean, black could play it, but I'm going to probably play, let's just say knight c3 now. They can't play it. And at some point in the future, I might use this to my advantage to really shut down these two pawns. So the nice thing about the pawn on a5 is one pawn stops two pawns. And so that's something that I like to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and castle. Usually rook e1, d4, e5, bishop g5. And like I mentioned, a5 are kind of the moves that I'm going to be playing here. So which order kind of depends on what black is going to do. Okay. Maybe I'll play d4. Because the thing about e6 is, like, if I were to play d4 before, then black could have played e5 with the tempo. Now they sort of had to waste a move. So I think I will just play d4. I'll take with the queen because there's no knight that can chase me away, right? Yes, black can play e5, but like I just mentioned, it takes two moves, which I'm happy with that. Now the bishop's probably going to come out. Bishop 5 usually. Rooks can go to the center. I'm looking at e5 too. Yeah, let's go ahead and play bishop g5. Usually a pretty good square for the bishop. You can always drop back this way. And notice how I'm able to play much more quickly because I'm familiar with bishop b5 Sicilian. I've seen these positions. I kind of know the ideas. Whereas when I play, the tracks there that I haven't studied in a while, I'm like sitting there thinking for like 5 minutes. You can kind of see the advantage of playing openings that you're more familiar with, and you can see the advantage of taking the time to study some opening theory. It really does go a long way and can be pretty beneficial. Now, it doesn't win you games automatically, but it can be one little thing that just helps, right? You pair that with, some tactics practice, you pair that with some good time management, you pair that with just playing very carefully and alert and not making blunders. That's really where you're going to start to win more games. Okay. We've got the battery lined up. Let's see what happens if we play e5 right now. I just want to see if the pawn captures. No, can't really do anything just yet. We could take here. If the bishop takes, we could come in and win a pawn. So probably the knight would take, and then we could play e5, and then it's just a trade. Don't necessarily love that. I think I will play a5 now. Just kind of cramp down on black's position. That's why I left this rook here, by the way, and used this one to go to the d file, because I wanted that guy to be defended. And I think our opponent's playing pretty well. I don't think they've made any mistakes. So I'm going to just play h3. I'm not exactly sure what to do. This is a very solid setup for black. Excuse me. And like I mentioned, I don't think they've made any mistakes. So we don't really have any weaknesses or targets to attack. So kind of a waiting move in a sense. Like, let's see what our opponent's going to do. They do the same thing. So where do I want the bishop to be? Here or here? I think I'll go here. Keeps the pressure here. And also, if I want, I can drop back to this diagonal and pile up that way on the d6 pawn, which looks like it might be a good idea. But if, black plays like rook d8, their position is super solid. Um, hedgehog setups like this, it's tough to break down. And so we might just have to be willing to kind of just keep playing safe. Okay. First, I would say questionable move. They're forgetting about en passant, I think, which is going to open up my rook. And here we go. You can see why I put that pawn on a5. It stops this kind of idea. And now I have a target. So, 15 moves in a row, I didn't have any real good targets. And now here we finally see, I would say, it kind of a mistake by our opponent. If they take with the queen, I simply trade and I win the pawn right away. If they take with the knight, I can actually just capture it right away. So did win the pawn, it looks like. Okay. And yeah, I don't see any reason to not trade queens and take the pawn, so I'll go ahead and do that. All right. Now, it's not over yet, because one pawn is... It might be enough, it might not be enough. So we're still going to play carefully. We're still going to look for mistakes by our opponent. And watch out for tactics, like right here. If I play b3, where's that knight going to move to? Because it's going to unleash the rook on my knight. So I have to think carefully here. Also have rook a7. Pretty easy for black to deal with. If I just defend that with like a rook move, then the knight's going to capture, and then bam, the rook comes in. So that doesn't look like it works. I think I have to play b3. Let's just say the knight moves here. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to survive. It's tricky. The knight moves here. I can take here, here, here. Okay. So yeah, this is kind of the trickiest one, but I think I would just play rook b1 and we would just get a trade. I think that's okay for me. Ah, but once the trade happens, my pawn... No. I'm going to say my pawn on e4 is hanging, but it's not a problem because there's a pin here. Okay, so you can see what I'm talking about. Pretty tricky position here. We have to be careful. And sometimes in these moments, you know, you can't always save the pawn and you have to sacrifice it and just kind of go on the offensive. But in this case, I think I can. I think I can play rook b1 here. And yes, I'm going to lose my knight, but I take black's knight. And like I mentioned, I don't have to worry about this because of the pin. Okay. But I think we're okay now. Now, black could play rook c8. Okay. See what I'm talking about, guys? The 1100 is playing very, very well, except for those two mistakes. Like, that's what I said before. One or two mistakes. You can expect it every game. They blundered the pawn, and now they blundered the piece. And just like that, the game is basically over, right? Basically over. Black's not going to be able to come back from this. So this is what, you know, as you go from 1100 to like 1500, you're going to see these one and two mistakes get less and less and less. So eventually you hit 16, 1700. Most players aren't going to fall for this mistake, right? And you're going to have to find other ways to win the game. But right now, you're still making these mistakes, okay? And now I'm up a piece. It's pretty easy. I'll probably just take here, be happy to just trade off a bunch of stuff. Take that. Yes, they can take here, but I'll just trade everything. And a piece and an extra piece is you know, enough to easily win from here. Okay, take that. And I will trade. And I actually, there's a little cool way to trade here. I can play check, and when the rook captures, I can take back. And the nice thing about that is instead of black having a rook on my second rank, they have a rook back here, which seems like it's less of a problem for me. So I will go for this trade this way. I guess they don't have to take it. They could play king h7, but what I play then? I could take here. Yeah, I guess if they really want, they can do it in such a way that they would have their rook on the second. But I'm trying to see if I can get them to, you know, take back here and not keep the rook on the second rank. Because it's kind of annoying, right? It keeps my king sort of pinned. I can't come up and over. They do go for it, so I will take. And I'm the one who has control of the second rank now. So you can see why I threw those moves in, right? Okay. End of the game. Where do your rooks belong? Behind passed pawns. I wanted to defend it anyway. This is the way to do it. And now it's just ready to go all the way. Here we go. Black is not going to be able to stop this. Even if they do put the rook in front of it, I can use my knight to kick it away. So pretty straightforward. Okay, so I want to attack this square. So here, here, here. How can my knight go to one of those squares? What's the easiest way? I see 1, 2, 3. I see 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this one, let's see. This one looks pretty good because then once I go to here, I have two nice options to attack that square. So I think that's the route that I'm going to use. And we just keep forcing the rook back until eventually get the queen. Okay, doesn't really change my plan, so I'll go knight to c4. I have two options. Jump in with my knight, force this guy to move. Let's go here. The rook can't attack my knight. Not that it really mattered. Like, even if I went here and it attacked me, I wouldn't care because I would still get a queen. But this way just seems away from that. It's, very straightforward. And I do have the follow-up knight c6 here. Same idea. Keep attacking. It's defended, and now black is forced to lose their rook. Okay, we'll take that. Move the knight out of the way so that we can get the queen. There's no stalemates. Black has pawns to move. I'm not worried about a stalemate. Um, let's see, where's the checkmate at? Let's go ahead and take this guy. Like with the rook, I'm checking to make sure there's no stalemates. Black still has a pawn, and I see places that the king can move to. So as long as you see a place, you know there's not going to be a stalemate. Okay, so here we go. Rook and queen, and should be checkmate very soon. Check, and then we can come in for the checkmate on one of these squares. All right. Good game to our opponent. And, let's check the game review really quickly. This game felt easier to me, primarily, 94.6, primarily because I played an opening that I was familiar with. Like, I knew pretty much what the idea was. By the way, our opponent played 86.5. Very, very good. Very, very good, but you're still seeing one or two big mistakes every game, right? Like, you can pretty much count on 1,100 players making one or two big mistakes every game. And I was ready when it happened, right? So, okay, they played the opening basically perfectly, didn't do anything wrong. They set up their pieces exactly like they're supposed to. They castled. Great, great, great. And then bam, kind of made a little mistake here. Okay, so the en passant lost a pawn. Not the end of the world. And then right here, where the tactics started to show up, they missed this one. That was it. That was where the game got away from him. Again, going back to different types of players, this player clearly had studied some opening theory. Like, they knew what was up with the Sicilian. They knew what they were supposed to do. So again, it goes back to what I'm talking about. This person seemed to be pretty good with the opening knowledge, but struggled a little bit with the tactics, and maybe even playing too quickly, you could argue, right? They played pretty quickly here and just blundered this piece, right? They spent 5 seconds and just lost the piece. So time management probably was a little bit of an issue. But anyway, that's all I have time for right now. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.